Welcome to the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world, 12 and a half years strong. Got a great show coming your way this week. I'm Jeff Warren. I'm here with Eric Leonard, and if you're watching on YouTube, he is Edgecombe Stan. How you doing, buddy?
No, 77. How can I do sevens with my? I don't know how to do it.
I don't know. You look like you're doing a circle.
Well, it's the crip actually.
Yeah, exactly.
So, lifelong. No,
if you're listening to us on audio, just go over to YouTube. I'm going to say that right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. See, I'm watching us, so I'm like, I forget to talk to the non-YouTubers and the YouTubers.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
So
yeah.
No, I'm good. Sixers lost again tonight. Tough one last night. Yeah. Tough one last night against the Bulls. Still love this team though. I'm not. We can get into it later, but they're fun to watch. That's the bottom line. They were not fun to watch the last 2 years, I would say. So
last March, it was horrendous to watch this team.
It was
horrendous.
Yeah, everyone was like, Nick Nurse is a bad coach. He's not a bad coach when he has players,
right?
And it just a lot of things are jumping out with this team. It's like, we should be excited about them. We should be excited about the Flyers.
Yes.
I'm watching the Flyers now.
All right, let's unpack this, okay, folks? Yes, we have known Eric for all these years. I always do the Flyers talk when Len is on because Len and I have gotten into the Flyers and always have, for years. We've been Flyers fans. And I know you've watched Flyers stuff here and there, Eric.
Yeah.
But over the years, you've kind of gotten away from it. But now your son, your amazing son, is really getting into hockey. And it's getting you into it, well, basically because you have to sit there and listen to it and watch it, I should say. But I love it. You're getting into the hockey, man.
But they're not like the Sixers. I mean, they're not as good as the Sixers talent-wise, not yet. But they're young and fun to watch. Like that's the one thing that jumps out about this team is it's not like the 2018-19 Flyers where we had some aging players, some young players, and it just wasn't meshing.
Yeah,
and there was that weird feeling of like, what's the direction?
Yeah,
kind of thing. Like even I can watch this now and be like, all right, I kind of understand what they're doing here. It's going to take a little bit of time.
Yep.
They beat the Canadians last night in a shootout. Watched that; it was great.
Yes.
As my son pointed out earlier, they did lose to the worst team in the league before that.
Yep.
But okay. And yeah, I'm actually in because he kind of dragged me into it. But still fun to watch.
I think he might get a Michkov jersey. He might actually get a Michkov.
He's going to get one for his birthday.
Oh,
yep, he wants one for his birthday. I know. When the hell, by the way, when did hockey jerseys get to like $200?
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. I have a 50th anniversary back when the Flyers were years ago. They were celebrating their 50th anniversary. I have a Shane Goss to spare. Who's of course not on the team.
Yeah.
50th. I still love it. I still wear it, but it ridiculous. It was well over $200, I think.
Yeah, I was looking at the Michkov jerseys on NHL.com, and I was just like, is there a bargain bin Michkov jersey? No, but so I'm gonna have to spend a little cash here. But hell, even the throwbacks like the Schultzy I looked at was like 120, and that was on clearance.
Yeah.
Schultz hasn't laced them up in 40 years.
Long time. Yep.
that really bummed me out because I bought my Edgecombe shirt for like $30.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Maybe you just get him a Michkov shirt, but he wants a jersey though, right?
He wants the jersey.
He wants the jersey. Yeah. All right. Gotta get it. You gotta get it for him.
He turns 13 next week. So it's a big,
big. You're a teenager. You gotta get that's gonna be a memorable one.
I know.
Memorable, man.
So old.
We really are. Folks, Eric and I are talking before the show just about how our kids are getting older. They're doing really good things. They're making some pretty good decisions. Mm-hmm. And we're just fucking old.
I know.
We just are.
We're just here not to get in the way at this point.
Yes.
That's really,
Exactly. Well, we got a good show. Everybody. We're going to get into, we haven't talked baseball, haven't talked Phillies in a little while, but just some reflections on the Dodgers winning the World Series and what the Phillies are going to have to do this offseason to compete once again next year. Such a disappointing season once again for the Phillies. We're going to dive into some baseball talk. As Eric mentioned, we're going to be getting into this Sixers team this Sixers team has been fun to watch. They started the season on fire. They seem to be coming back down to earth, coming back down to reality at this point in the season. Then from there, we're going to get into some NFL trades. The NFL trade situation has been absolutely crazy. And the Eagles were a part of that too. We're certainly going to be getting into the several trades that Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office made this week.
It was actually fun this year.
Oh,
it's
man.
never fun.
Yeah.
I
don't think these guys, outside of defensive end and pass rusher Jalen Phillips, not sure that Michael Carter II, MC2, as everybody calls him, and Jair Alexander, who knows if they're going to work out. But they are fun acquisitions, I think, to think about what could possibly happen down the road. So
yeah,
we're going to get into it. Let's start now with and just get into some baseball talk. Reflections on the Dodgers winning the World Series and what the Phillies are going to need to do this offseason to compete once again. I got to tell you, Eric, like, I just hate the Dodgers so much now for winning for the second time in 2 years here. Game 7, obviously one of the great games in baseball, perhaps to have ever been played. The entirety of the series was really good. You've got an unexpected hero in Miguel Rojas. You have a classic Game 3 that could have just gone on forever. Back and forth games mixed in night after night. It was just, that's how baseball should be. And I hate it. I hate that the Los Angeles Dodgers were part of this and we're part of one of the great World Series, I think, that we saw. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself as well, man, what the hell are the Phillies going to have to do this offseason to get to this point where we could see not only just a championship, but like just some amazing baseball being played, because the Blue Jays were fantastic too in so many different moments. It was definitely a World Series for us to remember. Those of us who love baseball. And again, as much as I hate it makes me hate the Dodgers that much more now, but it was still a fun World Series. And I'm like, what the hell are the Phillies going to do now?
Yeah. A couple thoughts, man. The Blue Jays, what a solid squad. They had every opportunity to win that series. And I'm not trying to like piss off Blue Jays fans if they're listening, but like they had every opportunity and they have nothing to like hang their heads about.
Yeah.
I know that sounds shitty if you're like a fan of the Blue Jays, but like you guys have a chance next year and the year after. And like that's a solid squad.
Yeah.
As far as the Dodgers go, I will say, like, I hate them too. I'm pretty sure I put a couple F words in our friends text thread when they won the series.
Yep.
But one thing I will say about them, which didn't piss me off, is that it wasn't just the superstars that played well. Like all of the role players were phenomenal.
They came through.
Huge. Max Muncy, Kiki Hernandez, like guys that like the equivalency to us is like Brandon Marsh or Alec Baum, right?
Yeah.
And like I can't complain too much like, oh, they have all the best players. Well, they have some awesome fucking players, but like their role players stepped up, and not just offensively, but defensively. They made, I mean, especially against the Phillies, they made multiple great plays and they deserved to win. And I hate saying that, but one takeaway I did have though was when you look back at the National League, the road through the National League for the Dodgers to get to the World Series, the Phillies gave them the biggest fight by far. Like
they did. That's a good point. Yeah.
The Brewers was like toothless in their fight against the Dodgers. Who did the Dodgers play before that? I can't remember now.
Gosh, why am I forgetting?
But it was a nothing series. Like it was just like it just kind of came and went.
Yeah.
You know, but I really think the Phillies had the pitching. If they just got the timely hitting going, which we've talked about ad nauseum, they didn't have. But like, you know, hopefully the Phillies can take something away from that. But I don't want it to be, and we'll get to it. This first topic is like, I don't want it to be bring back everybody. Maybe we beat the Dodgers.
Yeah, it was again. Cincinnati, by the way. That's
Cincinnati, which they just cleaned out, right?
Yep.
But like, I think that's a good takeaway as a Phillies fan is like, bring back the right players, tweak some stuff. And you were right there with them.
Yeah.
But the players we're bringing back, you got to bring back some arms. That's the obvious thing. Is like the Blue Jays did not have enough arms to finish out the series. They brought up that Scavenge kid who I saw playing Buffalo right before the World Series, and I'm like, why don't we have that kind of guy? Maybe Andrew Painter's that guy, but that's what jumped out is like you have to have arms, just a treasure trove of arms to beat that team. They brought back Alvarado today on a $9 million player option or a team option.
Yep.
Great pickup. $9 million for Alvarado, who was basically an all-star closer before he brought in Duran and before Alvarado's drug
suspension.
Yeah. But like that's the best first step they could have taken. That was smart. And I'm hoping they follow that road down the free agency.
Yeah. I think what you're talking about, we mentioned it with the Dodgers, the role players and how important they were. I don't necessarily think that John Middleton and who's the Dave Dombrowski? God,
yeah.
I don't necessarily think you need to go out and get the most expensive free agent on the market. I don't think that that's absolutely necessary. Sure, if they want to entertain it, fine. But I don't. I think that yes, while the Dodgers do that, because it seems every year them, the Mets, and even the Phillies to a certain extent are in the market for the largest free agent signing that particular offseason. But the role players are so important. And I think we're seeing that a lot more in baseball now, where it's not just, I mean, we remember when Bryce Harper was a free agent and who ended up
Turner.
going to the Turner. But I'm saying the guy went to the Padres who was thinking about going to the Phils the same year with Harper, Manny Machado.
Yeah.
You have these moments where these free agents become available. And just because your team gets them doesn't mean your team's going to get any better. Look at the freaking Mets, for God's sake.
I know.
I think role players are so important moving forward in baseball, and I think the Mets really showed us that. I mean the Dodgers. I'm sorry, the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Dodgers did, and and the Phillies didn't. Sure, I would have liked to have had a better outfielder, but Harrison Bader played super well down the stretch.
Yeah,
he was really good, and he was smart enough to like opt out and become a free agent because he can make more money.
Yes.
And they brought in Duran, who had a couple of hiccups, but like for the most part, he was a great closer.
Yeah.
Like I think that if they had made one more move for a bat, might have put him over the top because they had the arms. They shut the Dodgers down offensively multiple times in that series. But I think they need to focus on that big time.
Yeah.
Like Alvarado was a great job getting him. Keep Schwarber, maybe you bring back Real Muto, and I would just focus on arms after that. That would be my main goal because I think that's what jumped out in that series with the Dodgers. Like we held them to however many runs, we just couldn't get them. Couldn't get runs ourselves. So
I was disappointed with the Harrison Bader news. He declined his end of a $10 million mutual option for 2026. He's receiving a $3 million buyout, becomes a free agent. I wanted him back. I really did, man. He had an energy, for a smaller guy in baseball. He had an energy that I thought this clubhouse absolutely needed. And, he was going to be able to be an everyday starter out in center field too. It's disappointing. I don't know if they let that one get away, but I don't know what's going to happen with the outfield at this point.
But the thing with him is like, was he in a contract year and he just picked it up at the end of the season? Like maybe he's one of those kind of players. Maybe. I don't know. Cause he never really, shown that before. Yeah. Like the end of this season, you have some young talent down in the farm system to play outfield. You got Crawford. Yep. You got Painter for an arm. Like maybe think like for the first time in however long, like we can actually bring up two guys,
right?
And they contribute immediately, right?
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. Because honestly, like John, our friend of the show, John Stolness, was tweeting the other day, and I read it and I agreed 100%. Like the Dodgers not only like sign good players, but like they also develop their players. Like they have a lot of guys that they drafted, not just traded for. The Blue Jays too. They have players that they developed over time. Bichette, Vlad Jr. It's been quite a while, honestly. The Phillies have done that.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping for just out of luck's sake at this point, because it's been so long, is like, can we bring up Painter and Crawford and maybe who's the Aiden Miller, right?
Yep.
And like maybe finally we bring up some guys and they perform and like we actually display the development of our farm system while signing some smart free agents here and there to fill in the holes.
Yeah,
because
and to play those roles.
Yeah, that's what this team needs.
Yeah,
like you're not going to sign the top 3 free agents, and like it's just not going to happen. Like
right.
This team has been dying for young talent to come up and perform. It's been too long, and that's the key to this upcoming season.
I mean, Alec Boehm. I mean, and yes, I've always been an Alec Boehm defender. I mean, he was really the last one coming up through the farm system, and then before that, it was like Aaron Nola. You know, I mean, it's been a while since there's been a steady stream of
how
this
old
talent.
are those guys now?
I know.
Yeah, I know. It's been that long. Like,
yeah.
Like Rhys Hoskins is a free agent now because the Brewers declined his option.
Yeah,
he was a guy that brought up, but he's like 32 now, and I saw somewhere on Twitter maybe he's an option for the Phillies. I'm like,
oh, no, come on, no, stop.
Bring up our young, like what
That's
he was. Like, why don't we
shit.
do that with our own farm system? Like, yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to be talking more Phillies in the future. We're going to be having some more guests coming on the show in the coming weeks and months to talk about this team. Let us know what you're thinking about this Phillies offseason. PhiladelphiaSportsTable@gmail.com. We'd love to read your email here on the show and respond to it. Let's now move on to the Philadelphia 76ers. My goodness, what a team that we saw right out of the gate. This was a team that was on fire. In fact, win 4 in a row? Holy freaking crap. And I think now they are coming back down to reality. Lost tonight as we're recording this on Wednesday, November 5th, to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost to the Bulls as well this week. I think the team is coming back down to reality, but still a very fun team to watch here. So what have you been seeing here that you like, Eric? Some of the things you might not necessarily be liking, some things this team is going to need to work on. I don't know. What are your thoughts about them coming back down to reality at this point?
Well, I'll just start with like an overall philosophy of like this team's actually fun to watch now.
They are.
Like that's
and we didn't think they were going to be. We didn't think they were going to be.
We thought it was going to be a slog this year. It was going to take time for Edgecombe to come in. I thought he was going to be like an energy guy, heat check guy off the bench.
Yeah.
He's had a rough 2 games now in a row, but like he's also 19 years old. So
right.
I'm not. It's just like basically his first road trip. So you have your 2 guys like that. There's so like the Hornets, the Kings, like there's so many bad teams that don't even know what their 2 guys are that are going to be their 2 guys in like 5 years from now. Whereas the Sixers have that now, right? All the questions about Embiid, PG-13, and some of the older guys, like you can look at their roster and be like, okay, these are your 2 future superstars. Let's build around them, and we'll figure everything out. The one other thing that jumps out, and I know they're 5-3. They lost tonight against Cleveland. That's a tough back-to-back. You're playing Chicago, who's 6-1. Then you're playing a potential finals team, in the Cavs at their place.
Yeah,
they came off a loss. They're like 4-3. That's a tough spot. You have no one to match up with Mobley whatsoever. That was one thing I was texting with my Sixers buddies, like, who the fuck on this team is going to cover Mobley? Like,
right.
He's going to get every rebound. And he did tonight. He was awesome. And he's taken that next step up as kind of like a great power forward in the league. But like the one thing that jumps out, like I said, is you have your 2 guys. They're fun to watch. And Nick Nurse is a good coach.
He is.
Like he took an L last year. The team sucked. He kind of gave up.
I'm glad he's still here. I'm glad he's still here.
Actually. I am too. And you could tell he kind of gave up last year. He was doing his best, but I think he thought like, I'm a dead man walking. I'm going to get fired. Like, I don't know what to do here. I have no options. Quentin Grimes is my top scorer. Like, it was just a mess at the end of last season. They got the 3rd pick. They got a potential superstar. And not just that. Like, I think he saw his roster and he was like, I'm coming in this year with a new offensive philosophy where we're going to play fast. We're going to play fast. We're going to play quick passes, backdoor cuts, and like setting guys up, pick and roll, pop out 3-pointers. Maxey and Edgecombe have lived off them all season long. And if it's not there, boom, go to the basket, take it to the rim, get fouled, go to the free throw line. And I think he's made a great adjustment to the talent that he has. And he's made this team, like, they're actually competitive. And I think our preseason prediction of the ceiling being like a 5 seed.
Yeah.
I think it's raised a little bit. Yep. If Embiid can play a little more. I watched the Bulls game last night. Jeff, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of like, Embiid can't jump anymore. This seems like a problem.
It does.
There were a couple times he had the ball down offensively near the rim, and he did a layup like I do now because I'm 49. I can't jump anymore.
Yeah.
He just pushed it. He didn't jump. And I'm like, is that where we're at with this guy? That sucks.
Yeah.
Maybe he can play into form. Maybe Paul George can come back and, like, play a little bit and play defense. And I'm still banking on the possibility of him coming back and being like a good contributor.
Yeah.
McCain just came back. He looked terrible last night, but it's his first game back after how much time off.
With Embiid really quick. Really quick, just some numbers here. He's averaging 17.8 points per game. Averaging his field goal percentage is 42.3. From 3-point range, 33.3. I mean, that's not gonna probably hold up. I mean, maybe it will. I mean, it actually needs to improve. What am I talking about? I was thinking it was 43 for some reason. It's 33.3 from 3-point range, but 17.8.
He doesn't even jump on his. He doesn't even jump on his jump shots anymore.
Yeah,
he just stands there.
Yeah,
still is great form, great jump shot, but we're at the point now. It's like, I'm hoping like a month later from now, he's a little more athletic, because beyond that, I don't know what to do with him against a guy like Jokic.
Yeah.
But
meanwhile, go ahead. No, I was going to say, meanwhile, Tyrese Maxey, he's averaging 34.4 points per game. He has taken over, from a points perspective, he has taken over that Joel Embiid torch. That torch that we talked about being passed. His field goal percentage is 47.5 at this point, and his 3-point range from 3-point range is 48.5. It's fantastic.
It's absurd.
Yes.
Like, he's okay. Everyone talks about the leap. Like, he's made the leap. Like, he's now, honestly, I watched the game tonight. Donovan Mitchell is a stud. He is so hard to play. He's huge. He's awesome offensively. Maxey's in his league now. I think Maxey is in the Brunson, Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah. Like,
he's in that sphere now. And that's how good he's become. And he's younger than them, more athletic than them, honestly.
Yep.
So we have our superstar. How many teams just need a superstar? And he's actually it. Edgecombe will probably round into one. I'm just going to say Quentin Grimes is playing great basketball.
I was going to mention it because, man, you were shitting on him first game of the season.
He was terrible the first game.
He was.
Kelly Oubre is a really nice player.
Yeah.
But I bring him up because that's where you need Embiid and Paul George to step up, because Oubre is a nice complementary player. He's playing 30 minutes a game. He scored 19 tonight, but like, that's too much for him, right? Like, this isn't sustainable as a team. You're in the East is kind of weak, but I think it might be better than we think. So, like, you're going to have those two eventually step up. Like, Paul George better fucking play the sweep, because I've heard so much like he's making this return soon. And his presence defensively alone will just be huge. He could at least give Mobley a run for his money, or a player like Mobley, like, down the road, like with Giannis or someone like that.
Yeah. Like,
they got to get him back and just to at least contribute. And if only to, like, trade him for something down the road.
Yeah.
But like, I know they're 5-3. They lost tonight. The Bulls game was a tough one. They were up like 21 points at one point. Like, I don't know how you blow that game, but like,
yeah.
But they're a young team, and that's a good game to be like, okay, we're up 21. We lost by 2. Let's work on that. Like, we have things to work on. We went into Cleveland the next night, played our asses off. Actually, they lost by 11, but still they were down by 20 in the first half. Got the game to 5. So this is a good, young, hard-playing, competitive team. And
We
that's
haven't
all I
seen
want.
horrendous. We have not seen horrendous basketball. We have not seen it once.
They haven't been blown out yet. Like
Yes.
they've been
Yes.
they've been being blown out during the game, but they've come back and played hard in every single game. And that was not the case last year or even the year before, honestly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fun to continue watching this Sixers team for sure. So, folks, we're going to take a break here. Before we do, let's get into some promos here real quick. Here, like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and if you're not watching on YouTube, if you're listening to us, head on over, check out the video content, and we would appreciate again that like and subscribe. We're also on various social media sites. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right in front of you here. Head on over to some of these sites and follow us, like us, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky. You can search out Brick Pollitt for Eric. You can search me, Jeff Warren, out on Blue Sky as well. We're on Instagram, Twitter /X. I'm over on the TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. So that being said, we're going to take a break. And when we get back, we're going to get into some NFL talk and some Eagles talk. Stick with us. All right, we're back, and we are going to dive now into some NFL trades. Man, the NFL trade market this past week, Eric, was absolutely insane. We're going to get into two specific teams first. The New York Jets, absolutely tanking here, it seems, getting rid of talent as they're looking to what seems to be an obvious, rebuild mode that they're going to be in. And the Dallas Cowboys trading for some defensive help. Is that going to really help them in the NFC East? I'm not too sure, but really quick. I mean, the Jets, what a joke of an organization and a complete cluster F here. When you're trading Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner away, and who are supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, the foundational pieces of what your franchise was going to be from a defensive perspective. Now you don't have them anymore. It never ceases to amaze me that there are people in professional sports that still can have their jobs and still are able to. And yes, I know Joe Douglas isn't there anymore in New York. He's back with the Eagles, actually, in the front office. But it amazes me that these people continue to work and have jobs and do such a shitty and terrible job with their team building. Meanwhile, you've got the Philadelphia Eagles, who we're going to get to in a little bit, making some really good strategic trades, in my opinion. I'm just amazed by where the trade market went. The Seahawks ended up trading for Rashid Shaheed, and the Jaguars trading with the Raiders for Jacoby Myers, getting some wide receiver help as well. Again, Cowboys acquiring Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals as well. I'm not sure what the Cowboys are really trying to kind of do here as well, giving up some draft capital for some older players. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here. What are your thoughts about where the trade market went this week? Just a laugh.
Well, number one, at least it was fun, because usually this is the NBA trade deadline is always like countdown time.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some trade. Even if it's boring, it's at least trades are probably going to happen. It's a little more exciting.
Yeah.
The NFL one is usually just a complete dud. This one outshined the NBA trade deadline from the past 2 years by far.
Yeah.
I was really surprised. Some quick takeaways. I actually love what the Jets did.
Do you? Okay.
You're going nowhere.
So now why not tank, right?
Yeah, you're who's their quarterback again? What the hell's his name?
Justin Fields.
So you brought in Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million, right? He's a complete dud. He sucks. And that scares me if I was a Jets fan, because I'm like, well, we made all these great trades. What did they get back? 3 first-round picks and a second-round pick, basically.
Something like that. Yeah.
Which I love that for the Jets. Let's rebuild. You've got 5 first-round picks in the next 2 drafts and an extra second rounder. that's how you rebuild an entire franchise. We've seen it before. It's worked. The Lions are a great example recently. But of course, you have to draft the right players, Jahmyr Gibbs and like the whole thing. Now, the fact that they signed Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million contract, and they're trading away all these guys they just drafted 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Basically. Sauce Gardner, Williams is a little further out, but love the idea, love the design. Let's rebuild, but you haven't developed a quarterback in how many fucking years?
I know.
So again, love the idea. Can you make it work? Probably not, just from history.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a Jets fan in our life, and I feel bad saying that, because he's been a lifelong sufferer.
Yep.
But again, like what they did, love what the Cowboys did for the Eagles' sake. I think
that's what I'm thinking. Yes.
That team's a fucking joke. I don't know. I went over to my Jerry Jones is what, 82 years old, something like that.
154.
Right? Yeah. So I went to my parents' house the other day. It was 2 p.m, and my dad was in his chair, fast asleep, with a blanket over his legs, and I'm just like, this is where we're at in his life. This is where he's younger than Jerry Jones. Okay.
Yeah.
That was the point I'm trying to make. Jerry Jones is so full of himself and had to get out of the Micah Parsons trade disaster.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Cowboys fans, his concept was, well, you know what? I'm going to trade for Quinnen Williams. That's his name. Yeah. Quinnen Williams. Yeah. Quinnen Williams. Yep. And I'm just going to give up one first-round pick and a second-rounder. And the first-round pick he gave away, by the way, is not even the worst one. It's the better of the ones.
Yeah.
By the way. And for the 6th best defensive tackle in the league.
Yeah.
And the guy you got from Green Bay is the 15th best defensive tackle, because you're trying to stop the run this year.
Yeah.
You're 3-5-1. Yes. You just traded all your future draft capital to stop the run in a season you're not going to make the playoffs.
It's incredible.
It's unfucking believable. When I saw that trade, I was like, someone needs to pull the reins.
Yes.
But then you think about it. You watch the Cowboys documentary on Netflix. He surrounded himself with his whole family. No one's going to go tell dad,
exactly.
Hey, Dad, you're fucking nuts.
Dad,
right?
This might be a little crazy here. I don't know if you want to do this. Gosh.
What a horrible trade. It was it didn't make any sense. I read it and I'm like, that's dumb. I didn't need to go on ESPN and be what's the grades on this trade? It's just a dumb trade. This is stupid.
I'm so glad we're going down this road, because it's where I wanted to go. This team is going nowhere in the NFC East. They're going nowhere. And it's been like this for some time now. This trade deadline solidifies the fact that this Dallas Cowboys team is going to be floundering at least for another couple seasons. At least.
Yeah. Dak
Prescott is not getting any younger. Their rushing game is not great. I know they've got Will. Oh gosh, why am I forgetting his freaking name? Boy, man, I'm getting old. I'm starting to forget some of these freaking names.
Which side of the line? Which side of the line?
Offense, running back, Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams. Yes, they have CeeDee Lamb. Other than that, who else do they have? They have an offensive line, just kind of a piecemeal thing. They used to be dominant. Mm-hmm. Now they're not. It is good to see. I love seeing what Jerry Jones is doing. He is horrible. He's making terrible decisions. This team is going to be floundering for the next 2 years, at least. And I love it.
As an Eagles fan, you just love to see it.
Meanwhile, go ahead.
Just real quick.
I
read this great piece by Bill Barnwell today on ESPN, and he talked about, so Jerry Jones does this. He drags these talks out to keep the Cowboys in being the first story on ESPN in the spotlight. Yes. Right.
Yep.
And he's basically what he did, he actually calculated, I don't know how he quantified it, but I like the number. He was basically the Cowboys cost themselves $83 million, because if they had just signed Prescott immediately, CeeDee Lamb and Parsons, rather than drag it out and let other players sign to set the bar.
Yeah.
He was basically like, if he had just signed Prescott before so-and-so got signed, he would have saved himself $30 million. And then CD Lamb, same thing. And then Micah Parsons. And I read, I'm like, that's a really good piece of analysis because it probably did. But what's the offset cost of keeping the Cowboys in the spotlight throughout all those story after story on ESPN and other avenues? Like, he probably made himself a lot of money, but he made the team worse.
Yes.
And cost them cap wise. And now this is why you have, instead of Micah Parsons, you have two good defensive tackles, and you're paying them a lot of money, and you lost first round picks.
Yes.
Instead of having the best edge rusher in football.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. It's great. It's great.
Can I just say real quick, the one trade that did scare me as an Eagles fan, I didn't like this trade because I was like, man, Seattle's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah.
All they needed was one more pass receiver.
Yeah.
That trade, they made a 4th rounder for the kid from the Saints, who's having a really good year with a
Rashid
Yes.
Shaheed. Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed. I was just like, JSN is their entire offense. I have him on one of my fantasy teams. He's saving my season. He needed some help. And like, now you got a speed burner out here. You got the best receiver in football over here. And you have an awesome defense. You have great home field advantage. Sam Darnold's playing awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's probably our number one opponent in the NFC right now. And to make that trade for only a 4th rounder, I was like, damn, that made them a lot better. That sucks.
Yeah,
like, if we're a 1 seed and they're a 2 seed, they're coming to Philly. But like, that's a scary 1-2 offensive option to face in the NFC title game if that's where it comes to. So
right. That's a good point. Great point to make. Look, we talk about the Dallas Cowboys and how horrendous and awful their decision-making is. Let's move to the Philadelphia Eagles and what we have seen time and time again. We're going to dive into this a little bit more detail with our guest this week, Brandon Lee Gowton from bleedinggreenNation.com. But when Howie Roseman decides that, we're going to try to swing at something with some talent that has been proven at some point or another in the NFL, with cornerback Jair Alexander, cornerback Michael Carter II, and then, of course, him bringing in as well, which, my God, I love when the Jalen Phillips trade hit my phone and I got a notification. Oh my God, I was so happy because how many weeks have we been talking about it? We talked about it over the summer, even before training camp started. Very concerned about what the pass rush was going to look like, losing Josh Sweat, losing Milton Williams. And then we have the cornerback situation. What's going to happen with cornerback 2, Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, not doing good. So he brings in Jair Alexander and Michael Carter II to see what happens. And I would venture to say that Vic Fangio had something to do with this as well. Again, I'm going to be getting into that with BLG in a bit too, but I love these trades. I do. And they may not work out, but I love that there's a strategic aspect to this. And when you look at what the Eagles gave up to get these players, not a ton. And they have a ton of assets going into this year's draft, the 2026 draft. I absolutely love what the Eagles did here, Eric.
I mean, honestly, if Seattle didn't win the trade deadline, I think the Eagles did.
Yeah.
Howie's a Harvard business dork.
Yeah.
But he understands personnel. Like, you've had these guys that have run teams as GMs, and they run it like a business, but into the ground eventually. Look at Hinkie, eventually didn't work out.
Right.
But this guy understands risk assessment, and for what they gave up for these 3 guys and just taking flyers on 3 really talented players that can help the team with no downside. There's nothing to lose.
There's no downside. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and it could be
out.
the Achilles heel of the season. But you know what?
But that's the thing. It's not going to be the Achilles heel, though. Like these guys aren't going to destroy the team. They're not going to kill the team. There's really nothing beyond all their contributions can do is help the team. Yeah. They're not going to bring the team down. Jalen Phillips, by the way, like they gave up a 3rd-round pick. He's a free agent. He can walk. They're going to get a compensatory pick.
Yeah.
If he leaves.
Yes.
Like that is brilliant GMing. And like
Yeah.
I saw that many places on Twitter, like, wow, Howie really knows what he's doing.
By the way, we're getting compensatory picks for Josh Sweat, Milton Williams as well.
Exactly.
Just want to throw that out there.
like there's a reason he didn't go after the kid from the Jets, the defensive end, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no compensatory thing coming back. He's like, I'd rather give a 3rd rounder for Jalen Phillips, who's talented and has played for Vic Fangio in the past.
Yep.
And I can get maybe like a 4th rounder if he just walks. By the way, I'm not even paying him. The Dolphins already paid him.
Right.
I owe him like $3 million. That's chump change at this point.
Yep.
Like just really smart. Like I don't know why other GMs don't like, or why the teams like don't offer him $100 million to be their GM. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Why do the Eagles keep winning the trade deadline every year? Do you know what I mean? Like why do NFL teams continue to allow this to happen? It's amazing to me.
Like Jair okay. So like Alexander, great example of like what we're looking at here. I almost compare him to CJ Gardner-Johnson, who came in. Alexander, from what I understand, is a real knucklehead, right?
Yeah.
So was CJ. And you know, he's proven it multiple times since he's left the Eagles. But he basically has to do his job for 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months. I've been working for 25 fucking years, okay, or whatever it is. He has to behave himself and work his balls off for an awesome franchise for 3.5 months to make another like monster contract.
Right.
You know, if he's smart about this. And I like those odds because they basically gave up nothing for him. They just like off the scrap heap. And that's the kind of moves that Howie makes. I'm like, that is smart. Yeah. Because if he fucks off and like starts to mess with the chemistry of the team, just you're gone. This is easy. Like, yeah, we don't owe you anything. Just go.
Yep.
Same with MC2, whatever we're calling him now. Equals MC2, like that. Like something like that. But like no player is like is a problem financially. And if it doesn't work out, you just cut them. Like who cares? But the upside is like they're huge contributors on a team. They're also coming from teams that like not winning. Yeah. Like I know the Ravens are good, but like all these teams, you add up the records from the Jets, Ravens, Dolphins, they're coming to do a winning franchise just to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. They might want to actually fucking try and play hard. Exactly. And we're not paying them anything.
To be with one of the top teams in the league. And you're going to have pressure with some of the other guys, some of the veterans on this team to say, you know what? We've built this here. You fucking do what you need to do or you're out of here. And we're going to help actually get you the hell out of here if you don't.
You think Jalen Carter's going to take any shit?
Yeah, I know.
And these three guys. Like,
oh, I love it. I love it. I love what's happening with this Eagles team. We're going to have our post-game show after the Monday Night Football game against the Packers. Go back in the feed, listen to the Opposition Territory pod, where we dove into the matchup, Eagles-Packers Monday night. You got anything else, buddy, before we get to what we're throwing down on the table in our interview this week?
Let's go Flyers.
Yeah, let's do it.
And that's it, because it's 11:30 at night.
So. It is. I'm a tired boy. I'm a tired boy. You're a tired boy.
We got to stop talking for an hour for the show. That's
I know.
Part of the
we
problem.
Really do. We really hen it up. We really do. All right, buddy. I'll let you go. Folks, we can take a break. When we get back, we got Brandon Lee Gowton from bleedinggreennation.com. Going to dive into some more Eagles talk. Stick with us. All right, and joining us to dive into this Philadelphia Eagles team as they are coming off their bye week 10, right around the corner here. We've got our good friend from bleedinggreennation.com. Fantastic website, always great content with regard to the Philadelphia Eagles. Brandon Lee Gowton, BLG. Buddy, thanks so much for taking the time to jump on. Really appreciate it, my friend.
Always happy to be here.
It is, I think, a good place that this Philadelphia Eagles team is in right now after that really nice victory over the New York Giants. They got the bye week. Some guys on this team are able to get healthy. But in the meantime here, holy freaking crap. Trades, and more trades. My co-host and I, we dove into some of these trades that Howie Roseman has made this past week here, and I'd love to get your take on what these trades are going to end up meaning to this Philadelphia Eagles team here. Brandon Graham, as we know, is coming back as well. So let's start with Brandon Graham here. You know, what kind of productivity do you think he's going to bring to the defensive front when he takes the field? We know he's older. We know what his history is, but really, like, that impact that he's going to have. What do you think about it, BLG?
Yeah, as Howie Roseman mentioned in his post NFL trade deadline press conference on Tuesday,
Yeah.
Brandon Graham has been working out for a bit here. So it's not just like, oh, he's coming off the couch. He hasn't been working out at all. So I have high expectations for him relative to, a player who is unretiring, and the fact that he was looking great before he got hurt last year.
Yeah.
He didn't retire because he couldn't play anymore. That was not
Right.
the situation. He retired in part because the Eagles were like, this is too good of a story for you to go out on top.
Yeah.
You should probably just leave now. It's not that we don't want you, and Vic Fangio very much did want Brandon Graham to return. It's just that they thought it'd be better, if they could ride with the youth. And probably in the back of their minds are thinking, oh, if we need Brandon Graham next season, maybe he can come out of retirement. And that's
Right.
the case. So I do think he can help this defense in a rotational role.
What about Michael Carter II in terms of this defense here? I was actually a little surprised when I saw this trade initially, but as we're reading about it more, you listen to some analysts more, kind of making sense as a potential piece of the puzzle, I guess we could say. What's your thought about Michael Carter II here?
Yeah, I'm going to loop him into Alexander and say
Please
that
do. Yes. Yep.
This is kind of a strategy of, I think, Howie Roseman throwing spaghetti, let's say, at the
Yes.
wall until something sticks.
Yes.
And I really just think it's about the optionality. I don't think the Eagles acquired Carter or Alexander with the thought that, oh, this guy, either of them, is definitely going to start for us, or he's definitely going to have this role, as much as it's like, well, we can figure things out here. And maybe they'll have a role if Keely Ringo and or Jacorian Bennett don't step up on the outside. And if they do, great. Then you have depth behind them, which you need for sure. But I really think the Eagles do not want to move Cooper DeJean out of the nickel.
Right.
And Vic Fangio has said as much. But I think there's a world where they just might have to do that at some point. And I think that would be the last resort. But somebody might reach your last resort. And if that's the case, maybe Carter really steps up and it's him you can have in the slot when you move DeJean to the outside. It's really not clear to me at this time that those guys are going to have a role, but I do think they acquired them with the potential that they could if they need to.
Really quick, how much input do you think Vic Fangio had in terms of acquiring both of those secondary pieces? Because I would imagine how he probably went to him saying, is this going to potentially fit? Are the talent that these guys have, are they going to be able to be those puzzle pieces? I would imagine Vic probably had some sort of say in some way, shape, or form with bringing this talent to the team, correct?
You would think from a standpoint of why wouldn't you lean on Vic Fangio when he's earned the benefit of the doubt? At the same time, Vic will tell you his role is minuscule, which I don't fully believe. I think more so, with Carter, you look at the fact that he has a relationship with the Eagles safeties coach, Joe Casper. Obviously, he was drafted by Joe Douglas, former Jets general manager, now back with the Eagles in their front office. So, there's some familiarity there. With Alexander, it's Christian Parker, the Eagles defensive backs coach, who he worked with in Green Bay.
Yep.
So I do think they definitely relied on that familiarity. And again, that's something Howie actually basically confirmed and talked about in his press conference, that those relationships were important here, because it's not just about, the on-field talent as much as it's also the personality and those kind of people that you're bringing into your locker room, and you don't always know what to expect when you have a player coming in on short notice midseason. But with these guys, they have some level of familiarity with what they're all about.
Finally, Jalen Phillips. Couldn't believe it when I saw the Schefter tweet come across my feed. Holy cow. Jalen Phillips and what he's going to give this pass rush. What are your thoughts here? Your take on him, what he's going to bring to this defense?
It's really not fun to talk about from well, if he stays healthy, because that's the key. Like, if he stays, because if he's hurt, I mean, the Eagles could trade a third round pick for this guy. It makes all the sense in the world in terms of the talent, the upside. If he gets hurt and he's not able to play much, that's tough. And that's the risk they're taking. They're going into this knowing that could easily be the case, given his track record, given his history. But there's times where you have to take a chance, and obviously injuries can happen to anyone. So you kind of just have to get a little bit lucky there. It's not like they're banking their entire hopes of the pass rush just on Jalen Phillips, but for them to be better as a unit than they were in the first half of the season, he has to be a big part of that. And again, the upside is there. I like the fact that he brings something to the table they don't have in terms of just the size. He's like this. They have a lot of smaller edge rushers.
They do.
And Brandon Graham is more stout than the others, but Jalen Phillips is someone, the 6'6" frame, the athleticism that he brings to the table. I like that. I like the fact that I remember back watching the Eagles practice against the Dolphins in 2022 down in Miami. I was at that joint training camp practice, and Jalen Phillips really stood out that day, in a day where the Miami Dolphins defense gave the Eagles offense problems in that practice. So I definitely think it's just a matter of, can he stay healthy?
All right. Very good. Well, look, when we did our Eagles season preview and we talked about some concerns with regard to the Eagles defensive front here, I wanted to kind of dive into this pass rush situation a little bit more. Now, Nolan Smith, his practice window is now opened. We're going to be seeing him sooner rather than later. But I think from a more macro perspective, BLG, I'm wondering, are we going to see greater, I guess we would say, quote, dominance by the defensive line like we saw last season? Or is it going to take some time for all of these entities and the talent on this team and the defensive front to really start meshing with each other, whether it's Jalen Phillips, Brandon Graham getting back into the fold here? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the outlook going into this season in terms of just there aren't proven commodities here. There's more than there was relative to the beginning of the season when you bring in Brandon Graham and Jalen Phillips, assuming he stays healthy. But you're still kind of talking about upside. Like Nolan Smith has to be able to contribute. And I have hope that he can do that based on the potential we've seen. But again, needs to stay healthy, needs to pick up where he left off in terms of being hot down the stretch last season. We'll see if he can do that. Jalix Hunt, quieter start to the season, playing better in these past two games. Can he continue to keep that going? He might be able to, but it's just not a given how young these players are and how they aren't necessarily, maybe even close to reaching their ceilings where they are in their development. So I have hope for that unit. I think there's potential. I like the 1 through 5 rotation that they could have. But it's not something where I can just bank on it as much as you're looking at the upside, but there's also downside as well, where maybe Brandon Graham looks like a player who came out of retirement. Maybe Jalen Phillips can't stay healthy. Maybe Nolan Smith can't stay healthy. Maybe Jalix Hunt is not quite a starter, just a solid rotational third guy in the edge rotation. And then Josh Uche, who's had some moments, he's a part-time player for a reason. So there's upside and there's downside.
Absolutely. Not any givens here with this Eagles defense. And there's no given with regard to the secondary, which is what you were essentially saying at the top of our conversation, BLG, because I want to dive into the secondary a little bit more, because with the trade additions of Jair Alexander and Michael Carter II, I'm wondering, should we assume that Adoree Jackson and Kelee Ringo, that those experiments might be over? Is there going to be a shuffling more that we're going to see? How does that even relate to the consistency or a lack of consistency with regard to the secondary and the cornerback position here? I'm wondering, how do you see this puzzle kind of coming together for the secondary here?
Yeah, so we'll have to see where Jackson is out coming out of the bye week. Obviously, he missed the Eagles' last game with a concussion. That seemed to be not that any concussion is, something to take lightly. That seemed like a pretty bad, one, especially the way Jackson left that game. So I don't even know if he's going to be able to play against the Packers. We'll see on that one. He could be back in the starting mix, maybe if he is healthy this week. You have Kelee Ringo there. Thought he had a good game against the Giants. At the same time, the Giants might have the worst receiving core in the NFL, or at least before the trade deadline they did. So I don't know what to really make of that moving forward. It's better to see that than not, but I don't just trust Kelee Ringo. I don't think the Eagles just trust Kelee Ringo implicitly all of a sudden. So, and then you have Jacorian Bennett. The Eagles activated his practice window before the bye. I think they would like to take a look at him at some point and see what he can do. Like when you make that trade and you have a need at cornerback there, give him a shot, see what he can do at some point. But to count on him, as a surefire option, there's no great answer here. I think it's just a matter of kind of continuing to experiment here with these different options, see what works. And maybe they're not going to find an all-pro. Right? They're not going to find a pro bowler from what they have. But it's just about finding someone who you can at least get by with.
And I think we got to trust Vic Fangio too. I mean, you essentially said that at the top. I think that's going to be a key piece of this defense moving forward, trusting Vic Fangio for sure. Folks, again, we're talking to Brandon Lee Gowton, BLG, from bleedinggreennation.com, at Brandon Gowton on Twitter/X. He's also, I know, over on Threads as well. And with that being said, real quick, we're going to take a break, folks. And when we get back, we're going to dive into this Eagles offense a bit. So stick with us. All right, we're back with our buddy Brandon Lee Gowton, BLG, from bleedinggreennation.com, and wanted to dive into what we may be seeing from the rushing attack here, because we were talking about the defense, the offense obviously just as important. I remember us again talking during our Eagles season preview with you about how Saquon was absolutely going to eat this year. You and I were under the impression that, you know what, everything is in place for him to replicate what he did last season, but I don't think you, myself, anyone else who was in that frame of mind thought that the offensive line would have the struggles and the challenges that it did earlier this season. So how do you see the rushing attack possibly altering based on what's happening with the offensive line at this point, BLG?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I do regret and one thing I don't regret regarding being really optimistic about the Eagles running game in 2025. The thing I don't regret is feeling good about Saquon Barkley.
Right.
I think he's looked great all year, like in terms of him and what he can control. I don't think he looks like he lost a step by any means. And part of the reason why I was high on him going into the season was he looked great in training camp in the offseason. He looked like maybe even better than he did last year.
We talked about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I don't regret being bullish on that. And as we just saw in the Eagles' last game against the Giants, still looks pretty good when he can get him daylight. It's just a matter of the blocking, giving him at least some space and not letting him get hit repeatedly in the backfield like they have. I think the one thing I do regret is kind of thinking about the toll that those extreme workloads take on running backs and maybe not thinking about how that could apply to the offensive line and the people blocking for him last season.
That's a great point. Yeah,
that clearly has taken a toll on these offensive linemen. Jordan Mailata has talked about it. He said that he really didn't feel like in most seasons after the season ends, he said maybe a couple weeks, he starts to feel like himself again, is feeling better. This offseason, he said it took way longer than it did any offseason before for him to start feeling like himself again. And then you just even saw it with Landon Dickerson being banged up like he was late last year. Cam Jurgens, same thing, offseason surgery. Lane Johnson has missed some time this season. The only guy who hasn't really as much, Tyler Steen, who was a backup last year. Yeah, exactly. And didn't have to take that workload. So I absolutely think there's something to that. I don't think the bye week magically fixes everything, but it does allow a chance for these guys to get healthier than they were and have them feeling better than they were. So I think that is a point of optimism, moving forward, that they could be healthier. They could be at their healthiest coming out of this extra rest here. At the same time, they could just be in a spot where they're not quite the players they were last year because of that massive workload.
Absolutely. Folks, go back in the feed. Check out our Opposition Territory show where we talk to Evan Tex Western from acmepackingcompany.com to dive into this upcoming matchup. We specifically got into the Eagles offensive line, how it would be matching up against the Packers defensive line, how the trenches are going to look like. Go back in the feed. Check that out. It was a great discussion. So, buddy, before I let you go, I want to just talk about real quick a two-part question, the biggest weaknesses on this team, the biggest strengths on this Eagles team as we're heading into this second half of the season here. Let's start with the weaknesses of this team. What do you think the biggest weakness of this team is?
I think we hit on it. I think it's cornerback too. I really think that's just going back to training camp, that's just been an area where it seems like they're just really struggling to find an answer. I was actually thinking about it earlier, and I was thinking, kind of reminds me a little bit of in 2023, they could just not solve that nickel cornerback spot, especially after Avonte Maddox went down. They tried a lot of different things, just could not find the answer. And while I do think it's fair to wonder if the Eagles could have brought back, Isaiah Rodgers, I absolutely think that could be a fair criticism of Howie Roseman. in general, it's hard to look at a roster in the NFL and not find a team that has weak spots at multiple points. So the fact that the Eagles, are in this spot where they have this weakness, like it's easy for us to be like, well, how do they not fix that? And that's going to be an issue. And honestly, to be like, it could unseat their season. It could be an issue in the playoffs where they just don't have an answer there and they get killed. That's kind of just life, though. I think that's life in the NFL when you have limited resources. You're not going to have a Pro Bowler at every position. So it's tough. I think the hope is that they added some options here they can experiment with. In addition, when you're boosting the pass rush, maybe that helps out those cornerbacks and kind of, is not putting as much of a burden on them.
What do you think the biggest strength is on this team? And I'm wondering if we are feeling the same thing, because this team does have a lot of strengths. It really does, as challenging as the first half of the season was. And yes, they are at the top of the NFC here, and one of those teams that is going to be a contender at this particular point in time. There's a lot of strengths here. What's the one strength that you're really honing in on here during the second half of the season?
I'm going to go with the quarterback.
There we go. Yes.
Hurts.
Same here. Yes.
I mean, he is playing the 2 games going into the bye. Really, really good football there. Potentially has turned a corner. I don't think he's had a bad season by any means.
No.
It's kind of been a weird season. I think the Giants game, the first one, was certainly his worst game of the season. And at times, there's been certain halves of games where he hasn't been quite there. And weird because, like, for example, the first half of that Buccaneers game, I think that was one of the best first halves of his entire career, maybe the best. And then second half, maybe not so much. So we need to see, more consistency moving forward. But I think overall, the through line through the season, I think there's a level of trust that the Eagles actually need to have more in Jalen Hurts and empower him and lean into that with his ability to take care of the football. It's kind of a great sense of where to go with it, and also not putting it in harm's way, and just feeling in control of the offense, I think, more than ever. And I think that's kind of something you see, with a quarterback who is aging more and getting more experience and kind of building that comfort level. And maybe whereas he might not be the same runner that he was when he entered the league in his young 20s, he's kind of making up for that a little bit more with his what he's able to the shoulders there. So I think Jalen Hurts is a big reason of optimism, not only in terms of how he's playing now, but obviously, as we've seen, he is a playoff riser. So as long as the Eagles can get into the postseason and be in a relatively decent spot there, which right now, knock on wood, they're looking in a really good position to win their division. I know there's no NFC East repeat winners in over 20 years here, but the Eagles are in a good spot to do that. And I feel good about him once you do get to the postseason, and he even raises his performance even more.
In 8 games, he's got a 70.2 completion percentage, 15 touchdowns, only 1 interception. He's not turning the ball over. That's what you want from your quarterback in the NFL in this day and age. So that being said, folks, he is Brandon Lee Gowton, BLG from bleedinggreennation.com. I'm checking that site every day for Eagles content, Eagles storylines to follow. My friend, it was great having you on the pod. Seriously, thank you so much for taking the time, and come back and join us. Always enjoy having you on.
I will.